Tonight on Sports Paws, it's time for conference play for the men's soccer team as they host St. Peter's. We'll have the highlights for you.
Coincidence? Women's soccer travels down to St. Peter's to take on the Peacocks in a MAC match of their own.
And the preseason polls for men's ice hockey are out. Find out where the Bobcats were selected. Plus, we have a sit-down with the new team captain, Soren Janssen.
Had enough Peacocks? St. Peter's visits the Burt Conn Court to take on Quinnipiac in some MAC volleyball action. Coming up on Sports Paws.
Good evening and welcome to Sports Paws. I'm Jordan Siegler. This is Andrew Weiss. We have a packed show for you here tonight.
And first up, it's men's soccer. The Bobcats have had a tough season thus far, going winless in out-of-conference play. They began their MAC schedule this weekend at home against St. Peter's. Early in the first half, we start off as Quinnipiac hosts St. Peter's, the Peacocks, both teams looking for their first MAC win of the year. First half now, Max Rothenbucher for the Bobcats takes it in, makes a nice move, shot with the left foot, not enough juice, and it's saved by goalkeeper Jamie Cleland. Later on in the first half now, Quinnipiac threatening once more. Matt Taylor with the ball, gets open, finds it with the left foot, a rocket, but Cleland knocks it over the net. And another save and another missed opportunity for the Bobcats. Still first half, Max Rothenbucher once more for the cross. Nobody there, miscommunication, the Bobcats can't capitalize. Ending the first half now, corner kick for the Bobcats. Great opportunity here. Ball comes in the box. Justin Cody with the header, right off of defender Jack Fisher, and Bobcats are unable to capitalize. Second half now, a chance for the Peacocks as Lewis Mobbs takes it in. Shot just over Tristan Henry, but also over the net. Later on, the 67th minute, it's Luke Fairlamb now for the Peacocks. Moving on in, gets in close and takes a shot with the left foot, just past a diving Tristan Henry, make it 1-0 St. Peter's. With 15 minutes left in the game, St. Peter's Jack Fisher with the ball. He'll make a marvelous through pass here to Lewis Mobbs, and Mobbs will get open and chip it just over an aggressive Henry for a 2-goal lead. The Bobcats will fall 2-0 St. Peter's, still yet to pick up their first win of the season.
Men's soccer wrapped up its out-of-conference schedule, out-of-conference play earlier in the week with a 1-1 tie at St. John's. The Bobcats jumped out to an early 1-0 lead in the first half off foot of senior Justin Cody. The lead lasted up until a goal by Mike Prosek in the 51st minute to tie it up. Quinnipiac had 11 shots on goal in the game, but only 11 shots in the game, but only 3 of them were on goal. The field hockey team took on Holy Cross last Tuesday and went to a 2-1 victory with goals by Savannah Riley and Haley Schwartz. Megan Conaboy had 7 saves in the game.
In Quinnipiac, field hockey took to the road last Friday to battle Hofstra. The Pride took the victory 6-3 over the Bobcats as sisters Simca and Stella Schoen combined for 3 goals and 2 assists for Hofstra. Megan McCullough had a goal and an assist for Quinnipiac. Following the loss, the Bobcats hosted Vermont on Sunday. Quinnipiac held on to win 4-3 against the Catamounts. Lauren Belsky scored 2 second-half goals to break a 2-2 tie. Angie King also picked up her NCAA best 11th defensive save of the year to lead the Bobcats.
MAC play did not start the way the women's soccer team wanted it to this last week, but the Bobcats bounced back with a 4-2 road win against St. Peter's. Senior Jess Jankowski put up the first 2 goals for QU within 7 minutes of each other. Jankowski also assisted on a goal by Amanda Baroka, and junior Kelly Caruso also contributed with a penalty kick goal. The 2015 campaign is already an improvement over their 2014 one. The team won just 2 conference games and were winless on the road last season, and this year tells a much different story so far, as the team has already won 1 conference game and are 3-0 on the road. And now to break down the team's play, we are joined by analyst Sierra Goodwill. Sierra, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right, now to start it off, what's the major difference between last year's team and this year's team?
Well, let's start with the fact that there are 13 freshmen. So with that many young players learning the ropes of Division I collegiate play, you'd expect it to be kind of a rebuilding year. So their hot start was a pleasant surprise. Last year, this team went 3-13-1 in the regular season and 2-7-1 in conference play. This year, they're 5-3, 1-1 in conference play with that 1 loss to reigning MAC champ Ryder. I don't think anyone expected freshman 16-year-old Nadia Gill to be as good as she is this early in the season, as well as other freshmen like Jess Gargan. While at times you can still see freshman mistakes as they get used to Dave Clark's system, I just think that this year they have a lot more offensive threats than they did last year.
When you talk about the youth movement for the soccer team, how has the lack of seniority affected the team's play so far?
So that's something that Dave Clark really said, talked a lot about in the presser after Ryder, saying that they need to establish a leader for this team. Traditionally, the freshmen would take a backseat role and watch the upperclassmen do their thing on the field, but this year the freshmen have just really been thrown right into it. They don't have that many players with 3-4 years of starting experience. In close games, they need to establish that person who's going to bring the team together, settle them down, and really dictate what needs to happen on the field. Whether it be a Jess Fontaine or a Kelly Caruso, this team needs the go-to player in close games that's going to put the ball in the back of the net, and right now they just haven't found that person.
Now, QU has had some offensive up and downs this season. What can they do now to improve their consistency?
Yeah, so in the first 5 games, Quinnipiac outscored their opponents 10-5. And then their last 2 games, not talking about their game against St. Peter's, they were outscored by opponents 6-1. I think the freshmen just really need to be there when their crosses have been there in front of the goal, but no one's been there to put it in the back of the net. Or if someone takes a shot, hits the post, bounces off the goalie's hand, someone needs to be there for the follow-up. And once they can start to anticipate what's going to come next, I think their offense will really become more consistent and they can be a serious threat in the MAC conference this season.
Thanks a lot, Sierra. Now, the women's soccer team had another game tonight up at UMass Lowell. Lowell defeated the Bobcats 3-1. The game was tied 1-1, and UMass scored 2 goals in the final 2 minutes of the game to win that one. So again, the Quinnipiac Bobcats lose a game tonight up at UMass Lowell 3-1. And now we're going to take a quick break. But when we come back, we will hit the ice with some men's ice hockey news as well as an interview with the team's new captain.
We also have the latest installment of Meet the Bobcats with women's golf Emily Ribbins. You don't want to miss it. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
We are your source for entertainment news.
Laser Medica Derma Centers is a new philosophy in skincare for all ages. We are dedicated to offering the most technologically advanced and least invasive skincare treatments. Show your Q card and receive 20% off any procedure. We also provide microdermabrasion and Botox treatments, all performed in a relaxing spa environment. We are conveniently located at 52 Washington Avenue in North Haven, just down the street from Quinnipiac's North Haven campus. Call to schedule a free consultation and find out how Laser Medica can give you smooth, sexy skin all year long.
Well, it's time to start gearing up for men's hockey season again. The ECAC coaches and media polls came out this past week, and Quinnipiac is picked to finish 4th and 2nd, respectively. The coaches picked Harvard as the favorites, followed by St. Lawrence and Yale, while the media poll featured the same top 4, but in a different order, with Yale coming in first, followed by the Bobcats, Harvard, and St. Lawrence in that order. Quinnipiac was picked 5th last year before going on to win the regular season championship. Also, junior Sam Annis was announced a preseason All-ECAC selection.
Back in April, the men's hockey team named Soren Janssen captain for the 2015-2016 season. Q30 Sports' Victoria Rutigliano sat down with the senior to discuss his new role.
last year you totaled 15 points. That was as many points as you had your freshman and sophomore year put together.
Right.
What was different?
I think it was just like a mindset thing. I'd worked a lot with our strength coach over the previous summer and talked about, competing in every workout and every situation and just trying to take that next step to get to that next level, and that turned into things on the ice that were productive.
You're captain this year. Like, how did it feel when you found out you were going to be captain?
It was a huge honor. I mean, just looking at the guys that were captain before me, it was a huge honor to have my teammates and my coaches vote and decide that they wanted me to be the guy that was captain. It was a huge honor just to get that recognition from them and know that they have that, kind of respect and feeling towards me.
How will you take on this role on and off the ice?
I mean, I think I won't change too much. Just kind of keep doing the things I've been doing. There's definitely more responsibilities that come along with it, like making sure, everyone's at every event that we have and like guys are on time and things along those lines. Unfortunately, sometimes I have to make decisions that aren't the most popular with the team. But in the end, we're here to win a championship this year, ideally 3 championships this year. And I'll always be a friend to every guy on the team, but I'll have to, make some tough decisions that people won't like.
Have you made any tough decisions yet?
Yeah, we've had a couple guys who are like late to meetings and things like that. So we've had a couple things where, we've done extra conditioning, things along those lines that nobody's really a huge fan of.
And you're the bad guy in that situation?
Exactly.
Last year, your team was constantly referred to as the youth. Blame the youth. We have a young team. We have so many underclassmen, blah, blah, blah. What's going to be different this year now that they're not going to be youth anymore?
I think just the experience that they'll have. When we go out there and we go play Cornell and they have, one guy on their team that's under 6 foot, they won't be intimidated anymore. They won't be able to take it to us, and we'll just be able to go out there, do what we need to do, take care of business. And I think those guys will be able to rub off on the incoming freshmen and kind of show them kind of like the culture that we've established and the way that we do things, just to make sure that day in and day out, we're working hard, we're doing all the right things, and we're paying attention to details and making sure everything's getting done.
Switching off the ice.
Okay.
You're captain of the team, as we said. You have already graduated and gotten your undergraduate degree. You're in, what is it called? Graduate school right now for biomedical sciences.
Right.
How do you manage it all?
I was fortunate that in high school I had taken a lot of AP classes, so I kind of had a head start. I had 40 credits when I came in, so that definitely helped me. And then it just so happened there was a 5-year program that allowed me to get my master's in 5 years, but because of those credits, it almost kind of shifted into a 4-year program because of that. I don't know, I think it's mostly just time management, just knowing, all right, we have games on Fridays and Saturdays, like I'm probably not going to get the most work done, so as much as I hate doing it, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, I got to buckle down and make sure I'm taking care of all my work and trying to stay ahead of things rather than falling behind.
So the first thing you came here for was hockey, and the second thing just happened to have been the science program here.
Yeah, so what happened was, coming from California, honestly, I had not heard of Quinnipiac. It was, granted, it was a smaller school then, it's been growing and growing, but hockey is kind of what put it on the map for me. And when I was making my decision between schools, a huge thing for me was because I was a science major, that the school is, I think it's like 65 or 70% health science type majors. So rather than going to a school that was, say an engineering school that had health sciences, I was able to go to a health science school that, had, business school and engineering and all those other things. So for me, it was huge that I got the academic aspect as well as the athletics. And I mean, I've been fortunate that the athletics has gone through the roof while I've been here, so it's just ended up being the best of both worlds for me.
Now, it's starting to get a little bit cold out lately.
Yeah, I had to wear my hoodie the other day. You know what that means. It's almost time for winter sports.
Yeah, but for now, we're going to move back to fall sports for this week's edition of our ongoing series, Meet the Bobcats, where we give you insight into the lives of your favorite Quinnipiac athletes. This week's features Emily Ribbins of the women's golf team. Scott Pitz has more.
All right, Emily, so first off, what made you choose Quinnipiac?
Well, I grew up on an island where I didn't experience any seasons. I pretty much knew everybody that I lived around, and it was one of those things that when Coach O'Connor first called me, I was like, Connecticut? I never really thought of Connecticut, but then I came up for the official visit, and I fell in love. Like the brick buildings, like everything, and I just knew it was a beautiful school, so.
So what were you most prepared for when making your transition from the Cayman Islands to?
What was it the most prepared for?
What were you most prepared for? Yeah.
That's a tough one. I can tell you what I was least prepared for, and that's snow. I think I owned one hoodie before coming here. And I was like, all my friends try to warn me. They're like, you know, it gets cold. I'm like, oh yeah, I know. I've been in like 60 degrees weather. It's fine. But no, the snow is definitely something. And it stays so long as well. Yeah. That was another thing I wasn't prepared for. But yeah, I'm learning to deal with it.
How does being a part of a team help such a big transition?
I got very, very lucky with my team. I know I have the question a lot. People are like, oh, we have a women's golf team here? But the girls on my team are incredible. Like if you meet one of them, you fall in love with them immediately because they're just such good people. I know on my official visit, I stayed with Jen Whaley. She's the captain of our team, and anybody that meets her knows how incredible she is. So she kind of welcomed me in, like introduced me to people. So just having that team to like always fall back on is just so necessary when moving somewhere else. So I got very lucky.
Is the game of golf any different here? Is it more or less competitive? Did you have to adjust to anything?
Well, actually, I don't know how to say this, but I'm one of the youngest players on the island. Well, when growing up, I was the only one in my age group, so I had to play with, like, I remember when I was a kid, I used to play with my, like, science teacher, or, like, I'd have to go and play with my mom, because my mom was the closest in age to me. So here, I get to play with so many more people my age, which is awesome, and it's a different competitive atmosphere, because when I played in the Cayman Islands, it was, like, it was countries competing against each other, and it was not as frequently, so it's kind of having that every weekend going on a tournament sort of thing, getting used to.
So for freshmen on the team this year, how important is it to be a good role model and leader for them as they make their transition?
Well, I remember coming in as a freshman and looking up at like the juniors and the seniors and thinking like that's what it's going to be like when I get to that age. So I tried to make it as easy for them as possible, like, you know, letting them know it's going to be okay. Like after, like if they had a bad round, just letting them know like we've all been there. Just letting them know that everybody's on their side. Like we're there for them, whatever they need. Just all I can do.
Thank you, Emily.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
It's time for another breather here on Sports Paws. When we come back, we've got all the volleyball action from this past week. We'll show you.
Also, volleyball coach Kris Czaplinski will be here live in studio with Andrew Badillo. Make sure you stay tuned to hear what he has to say. Sports Paws will be right back.
Welcome to A Sheer Sensation, North Haven's premier cosmetology service, located at 140 Washington Avenue, minutes from Hamden. We offer an array of services, from basic cuts and colors to lash extensions and formaldehyde-free keratin treatments. We also provide hair chalk and styling for men. When you spend $60, your Q card will get you 10% off. Call us at 203-239-6477 to make your next appointment at A Sheer Sensation.
My name is Doug Thoreau. For nearly 90 years, 3 generations of my family have been providing the highest quality repair service. Insurance companies will refer car owners to lesser quality shops to save money. At Thoreau Auto Body, we provide the highest quality repairs with a lifetime guarantee to maintain the safety and value of your car. That's the quality you deserve. Thoreau Auto Body, our best work goes unnoticed.
Welcome to Joya Spa and Salon in Hamden. Whether you want a new look or the perfect wedding day hair, come to us for complete hair and nail care, cuts, styles, updos, extensions, and beautiful dimensional hair color, as well as manis and pedis, acrylics, gels, and shellac. Treat yourself to a facial, a peel, or microdermabrasion. Relax with a variety of massage techniques, including Swedish and hot stone massage. Joya Spa and Salon. Call today.
I could really go for a Ray and Mike's sub right now.
Come to Ray and Mike's and try our Philly chicken and cheese for just over $4. Giant cheesesteak subs and mouth-watering boar's head sandwiches for as low as $4.75. Q-Cash accepted just a mile down the road on Whitney, here at Ray and Mike's.
Welcome back to Sports Paws. Let's take a check-in on how the women's volleyball team has been doing lately. Bobcats playing host to St. Francis on the Burt Conn court for some women's volleyball. Bobcats early on leading 5-2 over the Terriers in the first set. Bobcats with the serve and St. Francis with the spike. That's Dominique Girard for the Terriers. You'll see her later on. Bobcats still lead 5-2. Later on in the first set now, St. Francis with the serve. Milicia Malajenovic with the beautiful ace down the line to pick up a point. St. Francis takes the 16-14 lead. Still a first set now. Bobcats get the ball over. St. Francis not sure what to do. A little mistake there. Ball comes over the net, but there's Katie Eurizia with the two-handed touch. St. Francis does take the first set, though, 25-23. Moving on to the second set now. And it's, once again, Dominique Girard with the two-handed touch. The soft, skilky hands for the point. St. Francis takes a 1-0 lead. Still second set now. St. Francis with the serve. And Bobcats get a point as Elizabeth Kloos. The great slam there for the kill. 4-2, St. Francis still leads. Still second set. Bobcats trying to battle back. Kat Miller with the touch. Just over the net. St. Francis still has a 19-14 lead and eventually wins the second set. Third set now, match point. Bobcats trying to stay alive. Ball over the net, but there is Dominique Girard, the MVP performance for Dominique Girard as the Terriers win the match 3-0.
The volleyball team struggles continue with a loss on the road to Fairfield. The straight set loss marks the third straight match in which the Bobcats failed to win a set. Now, while it continues to be a tough year for the Quinnipiac volleyball team, they have had a lot of setbacks, with injuries being the biggest. Coach Kris Czaplinski now joins Q30 Sports' Andrew Badillo live in studio to discuss his squad. Andrew?
Thanks a lot, Jordan. Jordan alongside head coach Kris Czaplinski of the women's volleyball team. Kris, how you doing?
Very good, thank you.
Thanks a lot. So it's been a struggle for you guys this year, and it's been a struggle the past few years. The morale of the team, as a head coach going into games and going, farther into the season, how do you sort of keep the women's attitudes up going into games?
All the girls that were brought into this program by me, they knew that it was a rebuilding process. It's going to take time. And right now we're focusing on the process right now, every day doing one thing a little bit better. And we're not really focusing on wins and losses right now. We're focusing as a unit to get the culture there and to get us playing the right way. So that's kind of been our focus more so than anything.
Okay, so you spoke about that culture.
Mm-hmm.
What is the culture that you want to impose on these women and the players on your team?
A culture that is, from the upperclassmen, they are letting the underclassmen know that this is how it's done at a Division I program, so on and so forth. It's something that these girls never had before, and right now it's definitely set. This is the best group of girls that I've ever coached. They have the right mind frame. They're doing the things day in and day out to get us to have that culture.
What are some of those things that they're doing?
Making sure that the freshmen have the freshmen know their roles. When we go into games, everybody is focused on point by point instead of looking at game by game or the outcome of the game. So just the little things like that.
And a lot of times you look to senior leadership for those things, focus point by point, don't look too much into the future. Right. You have one senior on this team, Chandler Thornton. How important has she been in sort of imposing that culture on the younger players?
Chandler's been phenomenal. She is exactly what every coach wants. She will work nonstop. She won't give any excuses for anything, and she's letting the underclassmen know that this is what it's supposed to be. This is the work ethic needed to play at the Division I level. So she's been a blessing.
Transitioning now to this season, you guys suffered a big blow at the beginning of the season. Allison Lee out for an extended period of time. Cheyenne Orsi no longer with the team. How hard has that been coming into the season for you guys, knowing that you have two big parts of your team that are going to be missing?
Cheyenne she didn't fit in with what we were trying to do over here. Allison was a big blow. But more so than Allison, there's, a couple freshmen that we're missing as well. We brought 3 freshmen in, and only one of them is playing right now, and the other 2, are missed. And they did start in the beginning, one of them started in the beginning, and right now we have 7 girls out. 7 girls that did start for us at one point this year, and right now we have another 7 that are trying to get into a rhythm and a flow. And, that's been part of the problem this year is it's been a different lineup every single game due to injuries. And it's been tough finding that rhythm for them because you're seeing different people on the court every time.
So with the shuffling of the lineups and the rhythm not being there, as a head coach, what do you say to your players not only during the game and after the game, but for the rest of the season? What's the message that you send to the girls in the locker room?
Focus on the process. I think they understand everything in the way that it's supposed to be right now. They know that we have to get better as the 7 that are healthy right now. They have to get strong as a unit. So when people start coming back, it's going to make us better and better.
Is the future bright for this women's volleyball team?
The future is very bright.
Okay, that's head women's volleyball coach Kris Czaplinski. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Andrew. Women's rugby stretched their win streak to 2 on Saturday with a 48-19 victory over Norwich. The Bobcats were led by 2 tries apiece for Emily Roscoff and Ilana Mayer. Quinnipiac improved to 3-1 on the season, while the host Cadets fell to 1-2. The victory was Quinnipiac's first ever against Norwich in women's rugby. Now it was a day for the history books for the women's golf team. Luciana Tobia tied the program record for best 18-hole round yesterday at the Dartmouth Invitational with a score of 70. The freshman's performance matches that of Nicole Scola back in 2013, also at the Dartmouth Invitational. Tobia's 149 two-day total would have been good for 4th place. Unfortunately, a scorecard error during the first round, which Tobia reported herself, resulted in her being disqualified from the tournament. As a team, the Bobcats also broke records for the best 18-hole and 36-hole performance with total scores of 304 and 362, respectively. The team hits the course again next weekend for the Princeton Invitational.
Both men's and women's tennis had matches this week, each side looking to improve on their season. The men's team traveled to Storrs to play in the Yukon Invitational, picking up 3 singles tournament titles and a doubles title. Meanwhile, the women's team went to war at the West Point Invite. They fell just short of any titles after losing in 3 different semifinals.
Well, that's all the news we have for you this week, which means it's time to run down the top 5 plays of the week. Let's get it going. Andrew, why don't you start off with number 5?
Sounds good to me. We'll head over to the pitch. Men's soccer taking on St. Peter's on Saturday. Number 5 here. A ball in the box from Peacock's player, and it's headed out of danger by Tobias Esch. Great play there by the senior captain.
Now, number 4, field hockey versus Holy Cross. Holy Cross putting the ball in, and a diving save by Megan Conway, but she's not done. The ball around the goal, and she comes back the other way for another diving save. She had 7 saves in the game.
Number 3, volleyball taking on St. Peter's. Dominique Girard with the spike. And Quinnipiac ends up losing to St. Peter's on a beautiful spike there from Girard.
Number 2, back to field hockey. It's Teresa Kausner confusing 2 defenders. Look at those moves there. Dribbling the ball around the defenders. And QU would go on to win that game 2-1.
Now for our top play. St. Peter's Peacocks' Luke Fairlamb moving in and taking the left-footed rocket right past Tristan Henry to give his team the 1-goal lead, a lead that they would never relinquish.
That was a clutch goal there by him on that one. Now, that's all we have for you this evening here on Sports Paws. Now, don't forget to check us out at www.q30television.com.
And also, make sure you follow us on Twitter at Q30Sports. And lastly, don't forget to come back next week for another episode of Sports Paws. For Sports Paws and Q30 Sports, I'm Andrew Weiss alongside Jordan Siegler. Have a great night.